Welcome to Duo Chat with Brittany
and Cynthia, where we talk about drama shows
like Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, and more.
Hi everyone, I'm Brittany.
And I'm Cynthia.
And today we're talking about Season 2, Episode 12, titled Between Order and Randomness. Air date February 1st, 2005. And the synopsis is...
Karen makes Lucas's life as miserable as possible till he takes a heart test. Brooke needs a job. The crap shack hires her, but not as a waitress, just PR in a crap suit. She makes friends with the other girls, but is the only one to develop a labor union attitude. Lucas confronts Dan about Jules and is told about Deb's adultery with Keith. And then Nathan ends up telling Haley himself about his first time with Taylor. Dan hosts and cooks dinner for Keith and Jules. So we start off with Lucas in bed sleeping when music starts blasting. It's 8:30 a.m. and Karen slams the laundry basket on his nightstand and unplugs the alarm clock. Lucas tells her what's going on and asks her what's going on, and Karen says that if he wants to live in her house against her rules, he's sure as hell not going to be comfortable doing it. He asks if it's about the heart test. He says, sorry, but it's his life. She says if she'd been that selfish at his age, she might not be here. And Lucas tells her she can't make him take the test, and she says, we'll see about that, and snatches the blankets off of him.
This was so funny. This scene, I just loved it because she just comes in like all angry. And he's like, what's going on? It's just so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
Yeah, so we see she took like everything out of his room.
I know. Everything off the walls and I was like, whoa. Mm-hmm. I mean, not only did she like take the stuff like on his bed and stuff, it's like she took everything off the walls. I was like, okay, she might get a little carried away there. I mean, it's just stuff on his walls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you think she was being a little over dramatic?
Yeah. And then Brooke is
also, is she gonna feed him too, or is he only gonna get bread and water?
Probably, yeah. Because doesn't Andy, I think, bring him food later on or something?
Bring some
something crackers. It was. So I don't think he's getting food either. Maybe water if he's lucky, but
I wonder if he just goes to Karen's Cafe and because his mom owns it, that he can get free food there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's probably how he eats.
Mm-hmm. So Brick is at the lobster place doing an interview. The manager says she seems like a decent kid, but most of the applicants at this place have work experience. And she says, fair enough, but what makes up for her lack of experience is that she's good with people. And she knows her crustaceans, lobsters, crabs, shrimp, they're all very tasty. And then, she says that she needs this job with, her car insurance being due, and she's on her own and she cannot lose her mode of transportation. So he's going to give her a chance. She can start today. But she is going to be doing a PR job, and Brooke is happy to hear this.
Oh yeah, I'm good at PR.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a question.
Yeah.
Why does Brooke think that at her age, in high school, why does she think it's going to be like this? Like, basically head of PR or something. Like, why would she think that she would have this amazing PR job?
I don't know.
At 16 years old.
Yeah, I don't know.
With no experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not like she's been doing PR since she was 10. You know what I mean? It's not like these TikTokers. She has, showed nothing. I mean, he even said like, you don't really have anything on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
Most people that come in here have a long list, and which I don't know, it's kind of surprising to me if they have like a long list, because why would you be working there? But okay. You know what I mean?
Maybe they can't find anything else.
But I just was like, why is Brooke just thinking it's going to be this amazing PR job?
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a question too. Why did he call it a PR job?
It's just, yes, it doesn't really make sense. It's just to promote the restaurant and the food there. So it's more like marketing, if anything. So
right. I was like, PR.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're getting a little carried away there.
Yeah. So the next scene is a shot of her dressed as a crab with a sign around her neck that says, "I got crabs at Carl's." The writers had a, field day with that one, using that and, later on too. So she's just wearing the costume and telling people to go eat at the place. And then Lucas goes to see Dan, who's outside playing basketball at his house. And Dan says to Lucas if he came by for a game, he knows he can't play.
Now, I thought this was weird. Like, Karen really went to Dan to say, don't let Lucas play.
No, I think it was just Dan knowing about the disease himself, having it and everything, even though he's playing himself. But, like, he's just probably taking it easy compared to what Lucas would be doing.
I just thought it was weird. I was like, he's really telling, like, Karen really went to Dan. Yeah, but they kind of acted like Karen did.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I'm like, wow, she was desperate. She went to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, Dan would be like the last person you'd ever go to.
Right.
And why would she think that he would go to? My thing is, too, why does Karen think that Lucas would go to Dan, of all people? Do you know what I mean? To play basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. And then Lucas asks, what he's doing with Keith, and Dan asks if he means Keith Scott, the new VP at Dan Scott Motors. Company car, 6-figure salary, Keith Scott. And Lucas says with Jules. And he lets Dan know that Jules told him everything. He can't deny it. And Dan says nothing. So Lucas says he wanted to believe that he somehow changed. And that's when Dan blurts out that Keith slept with Deb. And then he says, what kind of a man sleeps with his brother's wife? Lucas, doesn't believe him. He's lying. And Dan asks, to ask Keith himself. The night that he walked in on them was the night of his heart attack, and he wanted revenge, just like any man would. But after a few weeks, he came to his senses. He couldn't do that to his own brother, no matter what he did to him. So that's why he gave him the job out of guilt, and he told Jules to leave town quietly. But obviously that didn't happen, because she's still there. So that further proves that she has feelings for him. Lucas already knows that. And but still he says, why should he believe him anyways? And Dan says it's because it's the truth. He doesn't know what she's still doing there, but maybe he's seen his paycheck, now that he's VP.
He's so annoying. He knows exactly why she's there.
Mm-hmm. And then Taylor is on Nathan's laptop at the apartment listening to Chris's song.
I guess no, she's on Haley's laptop.
Oh, it seemed like the same laptop every time. I feel like they could only afford one anyhow, so.
Because she said, why are you on my laptop?
Oh, I didn't put that in my notes. I just said that she slammed it shut and said that Nathan's in the bedroom, so you could hear it.
Well, because later on, because she's on it later on, and she's like, why are you on it and stuff? Because she even says it's my laptop, so I don't know.
No, I didn't catch that. I just thought they were all using the same one. That's why they can catch each other with messages and everything.
Well, maybe because she is married to him now. Now she thinks it's hers. Could be.
Right, yeah, because I know Nathan was insisting about, his own privacy, so I know he wouldn't go on Haley's laptop to see those messages, even if something popped up, made a notification sound.
But also, too, like, if that's his laptop, why would you have Chris's crap on it?
Because I think Haley put it there, probably.
But I feel like,
just doesn't know.
But she does. Yeah, but that little chat thing comes up a lot. Like, what if Nathan's on it?
Yeah, I don't know.
She's not very
think he uses
smart
it.
then.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm thinking it's hers. Because why? Like, you would be really stupid to just freely have that stuff on there.
Mm-hmm. And then Taylor sees Haley's tattoo and says, "Nice Hannah tattoo," because Haley keeps wearing low-rise jeans, but that was a style back then, so you can easily see it. And Haley says it's not Hannah. Taylor quickly walks up to get a closer look to see if it's real. Haley slaps her hand away. Taylor asks if 23 is the number of how many tequila shots it took for her to get it. And what happened to the whole tattoos are for sluts and burnouts lecture she gave her. And Haley says that 23 is Nathan's jersey number, and she permanently marked it, her body with some random spider. And Taylor corrects her to saying it's a scorpion who paralyzes its victims. Nothing random about that. But she got a tattoo, and conveniently in the same spot that she has hers. She
Yeah, and
guesses
she's
she's
like,
been,
yeah, you approve of me after all.
Mm-hmm. And Haley says not to flatter herself, and Taylor asks, does this mean she didn't wait for the ring to give it up either? And Haley says she waited until she was in love, which is true, but she also did wait till she was married, so I don't know why she didn't tell Taylor that. But that's when Nathan walks in, and Taylor asks him, was he in love the first time he had sex? And Haley speaks up, but Taylor says, what? They're family now. They shouldn't have secrets. And Nathan responds with, it's not really any of her business, but the truth is whoever her first wasn't nearly as important as his last. And Haley kisses him. So Taylor's still trying to start stuff. And Nathan gives Taylor a look, but all she can do is smile. And then Karen and Andy go to Karen's place, where Andy asks him, or her, if it's okay, for him to be there while his place is being refinished, the floors, I guess, or something. And Karen says it's not, of course. And then that's when Lucas walks in, and Lucas tells Andy if he needs anything like the stereo, PlayStation, or clean underwear, check the garage, meaning that's where all of Lucas's things are. And Karen gives him a look.
That was funny because Andy's just like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes, okay, I might take you up on that. I'm like, what?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you want a teenage boy's stuff?
Right. And then back at Brooke's job, she's having a break with the other employees. She complains about a kid pouring a pop down her costume, and now she's all sticky. And then a coworker tells her that's nothing. One time, a gang of 8-year-olds pushed her into a fountain. They wanted to watch the lobster swim, and she introduces herself as Marla. They go to shake hands, but then realize it's impossible while wearing the costumes, and they settle for a wave to each other. And apparently, Marla has been doing this for 6 weeks. She used to be a giant beaver down at the lumber yard, so at least she's moving up. But, she said she needs the money. And the manager gives Brooke $15 after the day. And she asks after the most 6 humiliating hours of her life, that's all she gets. And the manager replies that he deducted the usual fee for costume rental and dry cleaning. And Brooke says that's a total racket, and they bust their butts here, out here all day. And she has a blister from the costume. They should be getting hazard pay. And the manager asks if any of the other cops feel the same way, and they all shake their heads no. So the manager tells Brooke if she doesn't like it, it's goodbye car insurance, hello city bus. So Brooke takes some money from him.
Hello, city bus.
Yeah.
I mean, that was funny because, because it is Brooke,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she wouldn't want to do that. She'd probably rather walk, if anything, but.
Or have somebody else pick her up every time.
Yeah. I'm surprised she doesn't ask Peyton or even Lucas, once in a while at least.
Or Felix. I mean, she can go to school with him, can't she? And she is dating him now.
Yeah. I guess she just,
But couldn't they, like when he takes her out, or if they go to a movie or something, can't she just catch a ride with him?
Right. Yeah. I don't know if she maybe wants to be independent when it comes to work, maybe, for her first job. I don't know. And then at Dan and Deb's, Deb gives Dan the mail, and Deb laughs that Dan's looking for recipes in a cookbook. She has officially seen everything, and Dan says he's thinking of inviting Keith and his girlfriend over for dinner. They're getting serious, so it's time for her to meet the family. And Deb's smile instantly drops from hearing this. Deb asks, wouldn't that be awkward? And Dan asks, why should it be? And, her and Karen both slept with him, and they still figured out a way to be friends.
Yeah, she's like, isn't that like the point? Like, she's very nice, and like once she meets us, it's like,
yeah. And Deb asks, is it another opportunity for him to rip Keith's heart?
Do you think she's right though? Like, do you think it's about meeting, like a psycho family, or do you think it's like, because he's doing it to torture everybody, and also because they slept together. So do you think it's her trying to protect Jules because she's sweet, as quote, or do you think it's because they slept together and she doesn't really want to be seen at dinner with Keith? Do you know what I mean? Or do you think it's all of it?
Yeah, I think it's all of it, but probably more with Keith. And so Dan promises it's not about, hurting Keith. And then back at the apartment, Haley starts typing out an email to Chris. Just then Nathan calls and asks what she's doing, and she says nothing, just thinking of him, and then just sends the email. So I watched this on Max, and when Nathan started speaking, the caption said Chris on telephone. So I thought that was funny. And then next scene is Lucas and Anna walking together, and Lucas is telling her how he slept with Nathan's mom. And Lucas says he's not sure if it's true, but he can't really trust what Dan says. And Anna points out that he knows about Jules, and Dan set Keith up, then asks if he's going to tell Keith. And Lucas says if he doesn't, he's basically lying to his uncle. And Anna adds, if he does tell him, though, it'll crush him. So either way, he's hurt, but, you know. And then Lucas says he can't believe Jules. She says she loves Keith, but what kind of a person would do something like this in the first place? Anna says maybe Jules was a bad person when she went into it, but now her feelings for Keith are real. And Lucas says maybe, or it's just part of the lie. And Lucas thanks Anna for talking to him about this. It feels good to have at least one person in his life that knows the truth. Anna says he's the one person for her too, although there is one other person who knows. And, you know, Lucas thinks it's Felix, and Anna says, no, it's Peyton. And Lucas says, oh, you told Peyton. And Anna says, no, but she found out when she kissed her. And then in this moment, he was taking a sip of his coffee and almost chokes on it. He takes a second.
And you could tell too, as soon as he was taking that drink, because did you notice it was like him taking a drink for a very long time? And I'm like, it's because he's going to like spit it out or something.
Yeah.
Like, why? But it was kind of weird. Like, wouldn't you have? Because she had been talking for a little bit, and when he had like this, like, put the cup up to his mouth. I'm like, wouldn't you have done it like right before she had said it? You know what I mean? I was like,
yeah,
I just thought that was a little played out that he's taking a very long sip.
Maybe he just thought she wasn't going to say anything that shocking, or that he would need to respond right away or something.
No, but I'm saying like acting wise, you know, it's coming up. So why would you take a long cup, like long sip?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It could have been Chad or the directors who just didn't time that really well. But yeah, he takes a second to picture it, and she notices him in the arm and tells him not to be such a guy. It was the single most embarrassing moment of her life, and it didn't end well, and now she's avoiding her. And Lucas says it's not that at all. She took a road trip. She only told him and Brooke. Kind of surprised she told Lucas, even though they were kind of getting close again. But Lucas has a smile on his face, and Anna asks, you know, what's going on? Like, what is he thinking? What's funny? And he says the last time he kissed Peyton didn't end well either. So then Jules walks into Trek where Keith is waiting for her at the top of the stairs, and he says they need to talk. She thinks she's caught, but he says with a smile on his face that she didn't call him back, and he then asks if they're still on for tomorrow night. She says yeah, and he says good, because he just got a call from Dan. They're invited to his house for dinner. And then at the apartment, Nathan catches Taylor going through Haley's clothes. Nathan asks what she's doing, and she knows what he's talking about, and they agree to keep what happened between them a secret. Taylor tells Nathan to relax. Haley doesn't have a clue, and Nathan says he went on a limb for her. She unbuttons her shirt in front of him, and then he tells her that she could stay here, but because she knew she didn't have anywhere else to go.
I did not like this at all.
Right, yeah.
Why is she changing in their room?
In front of him, yeah.
No, but there's a bathroom. Like, I wouldn't want her in my room.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the sisters aren't that close. So, and if you hate your sister, you're not going to want her in your private room with your husband.
Right.
So I was like, I didn't like that. And then the fact that Nathan's in his own room, and I didn't like the whole thing. I'm like, Taylor, she has her things, right?
Yeah.
Or even if she's using Haley's clothes, can't she take that into the bathroom and change? Why does she have to change in the room?
Because that's just the way she is. She likes torturing Nathan like that, like tempting him.
Yeah, but I didn't like it.
It's like either tempt him to tell the secret or to sleep with her again. Either way. And then, you know, Nathan says that he'll throw her out, and Taylor says, or maybe she could tell Haley about their history, and then he'll be the one on his ass. And then the next scene, we see Brooke at work looking at shoes in a shop window. A little boy pokes her on the shoulder until she turns to face him. And when she does, she says, how would he like a crab leg up his ass? And then he runs off. So, I'm surprised these kids are just running around loose like this, torturing the employees like this. You know what I mean?
I know. They're teenagers.
Or little boys, yeah. And then Felix walks up and says, "Nice claws." He thought she said she had a crappy job, and Brooke says, asks if he's there just to make fun of her, and he says no. He came to have lunch and give his waitress girlfriend a big tip. She says, "Surprise, she's not a waitress, she's a crab." He said, "There's no surprise." She says she applied everywhere. This was the only job she could get. She could get, and at least she looks good and red. And then he takes out his phone to take a picture of her. Just then, Brooke's manager from across the street yells to snap to it, Krabatha. No flirting with the sailors. And Brooke walks over to him and says, she's curious. She's been at this for 3 hours. So when does she have a break? And he answers that state law says that that he doesn't have to give her a break. A shark stops swimming and it'll drown. And Brooke points out that she's a crab. He says, whatever, it's all fish.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. So, it looks like Brooke's out there by herself. So I wonder if the other crabs are like at different corners, like around more than, they're not even like around the restaurant. They're like around blocks away from the restaurant if they want to be spread out, evenly.
Right.
Or else, where else would they be? They're not going to be inside the restaurant doing anything if they're not waitresses. So I'm just wondering why she was like the only one out there for like most of the time.
Well, and then it seems like when they're in the break room, they're all there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they were all out there working, so.
Because you wouldn't really think they'd be like down the road, right?
Right, yeah. Because like usually restaurants for real, like in real life, might have like one person out there, two at
Or
most.
two, yeah.
Yeah, but there's like what, at least maybe 8. I didn't count how many girls were there, but it just seems like a lot for this one particular job. So
Well, and then what was weird was that because how many restaurants do you know have people dressed up outside?
right, yeah. I think
That
maybe
was and then now you have like 8 of them at once.
yeah. I think maybe like I saw maybe something for Subway once or something like years ago, but
What, really?
yeah, like I don't really see anybody these days. I think maybe that job just kind of, I think probably with like the internet and everything, that job kind of like fade away, because advertising's on, the internet everywhere now. So there's really no need for people to be out there on the street by the road.
Right.
Yeah. So Felix walks up to her now and she says she hates that guy. She doesn't know why any of the rest of the crabs put up with him. And Felix is probably because they need the money like her. Otherwise, they all could all band together and pinch him to death, which was funny. But, Brooke, we know takes that seriously, at least being, together against him. And then Lucas drops by Keith again. He tells him he does remember when they were in Charleston and he said that he'd done some things he wasn't proud of. And Lucas asks if that, was Deb. And Keith says it's complicated. And Lucas says, not really. There's some lines you don't cross. And Keith says he doesn't, he knows he made a mistake. And that's no excuse. But it was because he was lonely. And Karen had just turned down his proposal and it just happened. Lucas says it's bad enough it was someone else's wife, but Dan's wife, he's never going to let that go. And Keith says he knows Lucas is disappointed in him. He's never going to make that mistake again. He's with Jules now and he's not going to do anything to mess that up. And Lucas asks if things are going well between them. And Keith says, yeah, he never thought he would feel this way again after Karen. But Jules is the one, which is still shocking to say because, again, he doesn't know anything about her and he doesn't even realize that because he's like so in love. And he's not proud of what he did with Deb. And that's the only reason that he kept it a secret from him. But he understands, that right. And Lucas says, sure, and walks out. And then later on, Andy walks into Lucas's room. He said he's been to Turkey. They have prisons more comfortable than this. And that's when he gives Lucas the crackers and just don't tell the warden. At least she's creative. Single moms are the toughest. And, they have to be. And Lucas says he thinks he can outlast her. And he tells him, or he could just take the test. He has to try. He asks Lucas if he knows that, she's just worried about him. He says, yeah, but at a certain point, she needs to trust him to do the right thing. And Andy tells him to not, to be too hard on her. Sometimes people do crazy things when they're desperate. And then at Trick, Jules is on the phone with Dan, saying that a family dinner was never a part of the arrangement. Dan says it was his wife's idea, even though it was his idea. He just lied. He couldn't talk her out of it. He tells Jules to consider it overtime, and Jules says she told him she's not going to do this anymore.
I don't understand Jules at this point.
About what?
How are you going to move forward with Keith?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when it's all said and a lie. I mean, Hillary and Sophia pointed out too, this is kind of like how it was with Nathan and Haley when their relationship started. Kind of like a similar way, just like on a lie until the
I
feelings
mean,
became true.
Lucas brought that up, but to Nathan, but at the same time, it wasn't somebody else paying you. Like
Yeah.
Nathan was not getting paid, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
was only to torment Lucas. I mean, that is something totally different
Mm-hmm.
than actually getting paid. Like it's a job.
Mm-hmm.
And is, like truly messing with somebody.
Yeah, like I think it was Hillary who mentioned that Jules was kind of like basically an escort, which
Mhm.
along those terms she is, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And Nathan wasn't. Nathan was just doing it to
Mm-hmm.
mess with Lucas, but also he actually did fall for her. And
Yeah.
then at some point he stopped messing with Lucas and really started to like her.
Mm-hmm.
And everything he was saying was real to her. Jules, on the other hand, I think that was the thing, was when it was Nathan and Haley together, Nathan wasn't lying to her all the times they were together.
Mm-hmm.
But Jules was always lying right from the start.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference, is when those two were together, there was no lie.
Right.
Nathan was being himself. Remember, he was a jerk to her
Mm-hmm.
at some points in the beginning.
Yeah, and he really did need tutoring for real, so.
Exactly. And he
Mm-hmm.
really, the only thing that he lied about was he was, messing with, Lucas. But
Mm-hmm.
every time when they were together, he was opening up to her. That was not a lie.
Right, yeah.
Because if he was doing that to like, I don't believe that any of their times together, it was
Mm-hmm.
truly messy. Because I think maybe, yeah, like, oh, let me have her tutor me. But they got deeper conversations than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah,
don't
not
think he anticipated that, but it
right.
happened. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't consider that the same.
Yeah, Jules never has done that with Keith, so.
Like Nathan didn't have to have like a list of things that he was lying about.
Mm-hmm.
Where Jules, she's got to have a spreadsheet to figure out what lie she's telling. Like that's the difference. And also she's getting paid, which is so bad.
Right.
And also like she's sleeping with him. She's getting deeper into this mess and it's truly going to hurt him. Like, you know what I mean? Like Nathan didn't do that. Because once Haley was starting to fall for him, Nathan was falling for her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was true. Now,
Right.
when Keith was falling for Jules, Jules wasn't falling for him in the moment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a job until now.
Mm-hmm. So Dan says if that's the case, if their feelings are real or if her feelings are real, come to dinner and convince him. Maybe they'll discuss a change of plans. And then at the cafe, Nathan walks in and Haley tells him she's been thinking
Oh,
about
by the way, when Dan does open the door,
Mm-hmm.
did you notice that when he opens the door to Keith and Jules, the only thing he's doing is staring at Jules the whole time? He doesn't
No.
even look. I was watching him. He didn't even look at Keith. Like Keith is like, oh, this is Jules. Dan is just staring at her. And I'm like, he's totally ignoring Keith. He's just smiling at her. And I'm like, oh, God.
Right.
And Keith doesn't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would have clocked that. I would have been like, why are you looking at her?
Right.
He didn't even clock it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then at the cafe, Nathan walks in and Haley tells him she's been thinking about asking Karen if they could live there till Taylor's gone, like put a mattress behind the counter or something. Like, that's gonna work.
I
And
don't know.
then
I think Haley needs to figure out who she likes.
mm-hmm. Or kick Taylor out. And Nathan says that they need to talk
What
about
does
her.
Taylor have to do with anything?
Well, she is tempting Nathan, but Haley doesn't know that.
No, I'm talking about Haley. Taylor is not the one researching Chris.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And having fantasies of Chris. That's Haley.
Mm-hmm.
That's like Haley's acting as if Taylor's ruining their marriage. Haley lying about liking Chris is ruining their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, but it is.
And then Nathan tells Haley that they got married so quickly that they never had the talk that most people have when they get engaged about past relationships. I would think that that would be even before that, but
Like when you're dating,
yeah, and
or when
it's like,
or when you were talking about the whole porn and everything.
yeah, sexual relationships too.
Here's my thing to Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to give her a list of all the people that she knows that you've slept with.
Mm-hmm. Besides for paying.
Exactly. I mean, did he sleep with any cheerleaders? You might want to put that on the list because these are people she's around.
Yeah, technically he did with 2, as far as we know. But
Yeah. But I'm just saying that, like,
mm-hmm.
you might want to make the list because why would you want her to be blindsided?
Right.
And I get he didn't realize who Taylor was, but at the same time, we're talking about the future too. It's like you might want to tell her.
Right. Yep. So then Haley says that's because she didn't say hers because she can give him hers.
Yeah, but he already knew that. Like,
Yeah.
he knows. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so when he does tell her, I have an issue with this. And it's the same issue with him acting like he didn't know who she was, which is the fact that you're going to school with this person since you were little and you don't know who this person is in your class. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's my point. Is apparently you go to a big school but a small town and you don't know who anybody is.
Right.
It doesn't clock. And then here it is. He says, "Well, I didn't know there was a you or there was going to be a you." And I'm just like, here we go. You didn't know who she was. She was in your class
Mm-hmm.
for so many years, probably since preschool or kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you never knew who she was. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what bothers me is we went to a school
Mm-hmm.
that was in a small town. We still knew who everybody was, even if you never had class with that person.
Right.
I mean, we knew upperclassmen, lowerclassmen.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter. We still knew who people were.
Yeah.
So to tell me that Nathan didn't know her, you might not know her name, but you've seen, like, it just,
yeah.
Especially given that she was your brother's best friend and you hated him. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, out of anybody, you think you'd clock her because he's hanging out with Lucas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just didn't like how Nathan picked the time to tell her when she was in the middle of her, work shift. Yeah. Because then she has to go the rest of her day, knowing this information now.
But when's he supposed to tell her? Because Taylor's always around.
Yeah. I don't know, like at school or like we don't know.
Oh,
like
so at school, perfect time in between classes. Let me tell you.
Like afterward, like at the end of the day, because Taylor isn't gonna pick them up or anything, or like when he's picking her. Like we don't know how they get home from work. Like
they have a car.
Nathan has his car, but like we don't. It's just we never see them, go home from their jobs. But yeah, he could have maybe told her at the end of the day, her work day when he picked her up or something, maybe. But yeah,
Haley must walk home though.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I don't know.
Because she didn't have a car when she was still working at Karen's Cafe, but not dating Nathan. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she must have either have always taken the bus or she walked home. Like it must have been like right around the corner or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because remember when she was leaving the her shift that one day and she walked out the door and Nathan was there and it was to go on that first date.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they were walking. She wasn't like, oh, I gotta move my car. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she must walk home.
Right. And then at the apartment, Taylor's on the laptop to see that Chris sent Haley an IM with the username Helen Keller. No, Helen. It's Hellin and then Keller. So it it's a play on.
Helen.
Yeah, but it's like a play on the woman Helen Keller. And then he said that I'm thinking about you. And Taylor replies under Haley's username, which is Tutor Girl, but GRRL, because that's how we used to, spell things back in the day. I guess to make it look or sound cool. I don't know. But that's something because that means that not Brooke, Haley took that from Brooke, like she's not annoyed being called that anymore because she's using it as her username.
Well, I think she's good with it.
Yeah. So Taylor says, "Who is this?" And Chris, answers he answers Chris, and then Taylor decides to have some fun and replies with, "I'm thinking about you too." And then Chris replies with, "I want to kiss you again, Haley." And just then that's when Haley walks in. Taylor mentions she's home early, and Haley replies with, "You're home all the time." She then asks Taylor why she's on her laptop cruising for jailbait because she heard.
That's what I mean. It's got to be Haley's laptop.
Yeah, okay.
Like maybe her parents bought her a laptop when she got married.
Maybe, yeah.
Instead of taking the desktop with her, she got a laptop.
Right. So she then asks Taylor why she's on her laptop cruising for jailbait because she heard her specialty is deflowering freshmen. And Taylor says, no, so the Boy Scout told you. And then says,
that would have been like my thing is, Taylor. She first blackmailed Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's blackmailing Haley.
Yeah.
Because, it's like, oh, well, I know your secret with Chris, so you've got to let me stay now. Like, it didn't work with Nathan. He spilled. So now I got to blackmail Haley.
Yeah. I don't know why she's doing this. I know she thinks it's fun and she's probably bored, but she was the one that was in a similar situation with that affair with her professor. So she really can't be, bothering each of them about their past or present situations.
I think she's the person that gets a high off other people's drama.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that this is her sister and her marriage. Like, yes, do I agree with Haley getting married to Nathan after a month or two of dating? No, especially in high school, no. But at the same time, this is still your sister's marriage. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's her marriage, and you're supposed to be supportive. And she just thinks it's like a big joke, and she's just really into somebody else's drama, apparently, as long as it's not hers, I guess. Mm-hmm. But even though it kind of is part of her drama, because it's, Nathan's little lie was he slept with Taylor.
Right.
But she's just getting a kick out of Haley's life, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And then Taylor had to say, look at it this way, now they can compare notes. And to me, it looked like Haley grabbed a handful of Taylor's hair, but Hillary or Sophia said that she grabbed her ear. What did it look like to you?
Her hair, because it was the back of her head.
Yeah, so that's what I was just wondering. And it seemed like the hair would be more painful too, and just easier to grab. But Taylor gets her off, and then Taylor tells Haley that if she wanted to find someone she hadn't slept with, she should have moved to Alaska. Still making jokes about it.
So that means she slept with Lucas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, really? There's still a handful of boys you haven't slept with.
Mm-hmm. And then Haley asks Taylor if she thinks her relationship with Nathan is just a big joke. She's starting to throw hands while saying this, and Taylor says, of course not, but she thinks Chris is a laugh riot. And Haley asks,
do you think that Haley should be jealous over Taylor and Nathan's? Like, do you think she should be mad, jealous?
I think she should be mad that neither one of them told her once they realized who they, each were. But besides that, no, because it was in the past.
But, okay, here's the thing. Your sister is supposedly like supposed to be like sexier and stuff, like just putting that lotion on and how she dresses. Given how that's supposed to be your sister, right? Given who Haley is, she was jealous over Peyton. and all the porn, don't you think that she would be jealous over Taylor, like Nathan seeing her naked? Do you know what I mean? Like, then you'd be comparing yourself with your sister of, oh, does he not find me attractive because now he knows that that's my sister? And given how he's been flirting with her, it's like, and the fact that he didn't just come out and say it, like they had to keep this a secret that she's been staying there. Like, wouldn't you question all that?
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't care at all, like, and Taylor meant nothing, why wouldn't you tell me? Do you know what I mean? Or do you have feelings for her, like, now that you've seen her again?
Right.
Like, it would, like, I just feel like anybody would feel jealous. And it's just weird that she's not. That's why I wonder if it's because, like, Chris is around, like, in her head. Like, I only partially think of Nathan. Because the old Haley would have been jealous. She was jealous of Peyton.
Yeah.
And this is your sister. How can you not compare notes?
Right.
And have those feelings in your head? I just don't get it.
Right.
Like, don't you think that maybe it was because of a male's perspective that there wouldn't be jealousy?
Yeah, probably.
Because that's how I would have wrote it, was she does have jealousy. Especially she had jealousy last season.
Right.
Over the same topic. So it is weird how she all of a sudden doesn't have jealousy with her own sister. Like, I just feel like she would.
Let me see. I'm checking the writers.
I mean, Brooke probably wouldn't, because Brooke thinks she's better than everybody. But
yeah,
I
they
just
were
feel
all
like
male.
Haley would.
Yeah, they were all male writers in this one.
Yeah. So there was no female voice to be like, Haley would have insecurities as she did in season 1. I mean, here's the thing. She would have insecurities with anyone she has heard he slept with, right?
Right.
And then giving it to your sister. I mean, she knew it was Peyton and there was insecurities. And now it's your own sister. That was my thing, was they're brushing off of her insecurities. All of a sudden, Haley has no insecurities.
Right. Yeah.
I'm supposed to believe that? She's still, I don't want to say woman because she's 16. She's still a teenager. And you'd have those insecurities.
Yeah.
So
I don't know,
like that they just brushed that off.
Maybe she sees it more as Taylor's fault that it happens, and she was the older one, and Nathan was the young freshman.
It doesn't matter. He still slept with her.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
And
like,
he still hid it.
Yeah. And then she goes on to talk about Haley bitching about her husband's past when she has a present, because she tells Haley she knows about the IM and knows that she's been kissing Chris, and Haley lies again and says that she doesn't know what she's talking about.
See, that was my point too, was like, do I hate everything Taylor's doing with Nathan 100% and like all the blackmailing? But at the same time, I agree with her. Like, Haley has a present with Chris. Like, you can't say you don't.
Right.
That was my issue with Haley. Because like in this episode, Haley's acting like she's like the martyr of all of this, and like, you did this, Nathan, and you did this, Taylor. But it's like, and what are you doing currently?
Right.
Like, that's what's bothering me, is Haley is having like this double life right now. She's like focused when she wants to be on Nathan and who he slept with, which was Taylor. But then the switch side is she's up there secretly looking up Chris and having these messages, which I know Taylor had done. But she still did it all. And, they kissed.
Right.
But yet nobody knows that besides, Peyton knows.
Yeah.
Don't
and
you
Jake.
think? Don't you think, given that Peyton doesn't want Nathan to be hurt, don't you think she'd say something?
Yeah, I don't know, because it's, she does mention that later, about how it was with her and Brooke and Lucas, but I mean, yeah, Lucas. So, yeah, I don't know. Haley's just, no, Peyton is just busy, I guess, with Trick and, oh no, she's with Jake right now. So, yeah, that's why she's not talking to Haley about this right now.
She's
But
not even in the episode, is she?
yeah, no, I just remember she's out on her road trip to get Jenny back. But yeah.
But I'm just like, doesn't Peyton have more loyalty with Nathan?
Yeah, you think. I don't know. I know her and Haley have gotten closer recently, and we don't really see Peyton and Nathan anymore. But
we don't see Peyton and Haley in season 2 either. That was like season 1. Because season 2 was more Brooke and Haley.
Yeah.
Peyton kind of like lost touch, apparently. That's why I thought her loyalty would be to Nathan.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And she doesn't want him hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this girl changed your life,
Mm-hmm.
but she's doing some things behind your back.
Right.
Well, because she always says, I like that she changed him to be a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then don't you want him to know the truth instead of being hurt?
Right.
Like, don't you want him to know about it so that he can figure out a way to approach her instead of being blindsided?
Yeah.
Like, I would want you to know the information so you can do whatever you want with it. But,
Mm-hmm.
at least you won't be blindsided when you find out.
Right. Yeah, so Taylor asks if Haley is sleeping with him. She says no. And then he says it's not what it looks like. And Taylor says, really? Because it seems like to her saying Haley is just as bad as the rest of them.
That's what I mean.
And
she thinks she's like a martyr of them all. It's like, ugh. I don't know.
Like
I kind of feel like she's worse than any of them. Like, none of them are married.
Right. Yeah, she says that Nathan can't find out about this. And Taylor says fine, but she has to let her stay until she figures out what she's doing.
So I have a question. So it's kind of like my question with Jules, but for Haley. You're okay. Even if in a week, tomorrow, whatever, you decided you were done with Chris, right?
Mm-hmm.
The good person in you, because you have a heart, wouldn't it eat you alive that you were keeping this secret forever? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if I was Haley, which I would never do, it's like, wouldn't that eat you alive? Like, okay, I have to say something because I can't go on any longer.
Right, yeah.
Like, she's going to go on the rest of her life with this lie. And it's not even a little lie. It's a huge lie. She's kissed him twice now. She's just not going to tell her husband ever. Like, that might be like an old Brooke move. And I say old because the new Brooke wouldn't do that. But also, like, that's definitely not a Haley move.
Right.
So I just don't like that either.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's also like the male writing too is, that's just what they do?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it though. Like, Haley's just going to go on and not tell him. Right. I dare her to do that.
Yeah. So then at the crab shack, Brooke struggles to get her costume off. The other girls complain about how a pain it is to wear them. Brooke then says they, can stand around the break room and complain and be crabby all they want, or they can figure out a way to protect themselves from that guy.
But I agree with like that one girl. Because
Marla?
like she can't, I don't know, whoever it was that said she can't lose her job.
Yeah,
like
Marla.
she has built, that's the difference. That's the difference in Brooke and that girl, because she has bills to pay. She said she has a son or something.
Yeah, 2-year-old.
She has things, like she has a real life that she needs the job. Where Brooke, she's a teenager.
Yeah, she only has her.
Technically, Brooke's parents are responsible for her.
Yeah, she only has her car insurance apparently to pay for. So,
But also, she technically does not need a car. Where, what did you say her name was? Carla?
Marla.
Okay, so Marla needs the job, even if it's not for transportation. It's for food, a roof over her head. It's like she needs a job where Brooke could lose it and would be perfectly fine. So I agree with that, Marla, of I need this job.
Yeah. That's why they weren't saying anything before until Brooke said that she can guarantee them they won't get fired.
Okay, but Cynthia, you're gonna listen to a 16-year-old?
Yeah, no.
Who's never had a job in her life? Do you know what I mean? Like all these girls, I'm sure, have had other jobs. They know the workforce. Brooke does not. And you're going to listen to her? It's one thing if like the other girls would have come out and said it. It would have been like, okay, I agree with you. But Brooke saying it, I'd be like, I'm out. Like, I need a job, so I'm out.
Right.
Because I'm not going to listen to a 16-year-old who has never worked a day in her life.
Yeah. So then back at Lucas's, he tries to get comfortable with a small blanket on his bed when Keith walks in.
Oh my God. Can I just say that scene with Lucas just putting the blanket, like it was just so funny. Like I'm so glad they kept that in because even though there was no talking, nothing, and you could act like, oh, it was just like a stupid scene they kept in. I thought it was a great scene because he's just like there's just no talking. He's just like messing with the blanket, but like, and then he's, it goes, it doesn't go past his feet, and it's just so funny.
Yeah.
Well, it could have been a scene they could have cut out, but they left it in. It was so good.
Yeah.
And then Keith walks in and is like, "What are you doing?" But what's weird is that Lucas didn't say anything. Like, my mom took all my stuff. Can't you see? I don't know. It's just something that people would say.
Yeah.
But then Keith brings up the test. What was Keith's reason why he hasn't taken the test yet?
Because he didn't want to know either. He was scared.
Are you sure they're not father and son?
Yeah, I know.
Maybe we should do a DNA test.
And then, yeah, Keith wants to do it now because of Jules. And, yeah, because I'm seeing my notes. He said, yeah, Lucas says he's not taking the test. Keith says that's what he said, and then tells Lucas they have the same genes. So exactly what you just said. But he's, just as risk as he is, and he's been putting out the test too. But now he wants to give Jules a peace of mind. And Lucas asks Keith that Jules, wants him to take the test. And Keith says, yeah, she's been bugging him for 3 weeks. So that's also part of it, just like Karen to him. And that's what people do if they care about you, he tells Lucas. So Keith tells Lucas, they can take the test together, not for them, but for for Jules and Karen. And he tells him to think about it. And Lucas thanks Keith for being there for him. And he says, always. And Keith lets Lucas know that he's there for him too, no matter what happens. And Keith tells Lucas not to worry about the test. Everything's going to be okay. But I'm thinking that he meant that about Jules, about being there for him. Yeah. And then Lucas gets to the river court where he tells Nathan he doesn't have to throw another ball into the river. He's just there to watch. And Lucas then asks what's going on with Nathan. And Nathan says a long story and then says it's actually not.
Angelique and Lucas go, well, at least I'm not sleeping. At least I didn't sleep with Taylor. It's like, oh God, Nathan's never going to live that one down.
Yeah, he says, I guess he's not the only one that doesn't want to go home. And Lucas says that maybe it's okay if you to lie if you're doing it to protect somebody. Nathan says, now you tell me. And Lucas laughs, then mentions that when he got together with Haley.
Yeah, this is what I meant was that Lucas does bring it up of the similarity, but also it's different what Jules is doing.
Right.
Nathan said that it was Haley that forgave him.
Yep.
And that's the thing was Haley and Keith are not the same people.
Mm-hmm.
Keith will not forgive Jules.
Nope.
But why would you? Would you?
No. Not Jules, no.
No, that's the thing. Is like Nathan was something different. Jules, I would not trust. Like it's I think it's hard for Lucas to trust her. Like everybody around is trusting her because they don't know. But him, it's like, I can't trust her, but I'm supposed to act like I can.
Mm-hmm.
That would be hard, wouldn't it? To like for anybody, but then to be a teenager and know this information and not say anything to anyone.
Right.
And the only person you can talk to is Dan Scott.
Mm-hmm.
That's like messed up.
Right. Yeah, so Lucas tells Nathan to go home and try to get Haley to forgive him again.
I did like that. Then he was like, I should probably go home. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
At least he's trying to like work on his marriage. Haley, on the other hand, is trying to ruin her marriage.
Right. And then back at the apartment, Haley is looking at Chris's blog on the laptop. She closes the
This
laptop
is what I mean. She's
as
not.
Nathan walks
You
in.
would
Yeah.
think, okay, you would think that Taylor bringing up your current situation, your present, you would think that that would drive you to, not talk to Chris again.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she is, it's like, really?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that would just be something that, you just wouldn't do, at least for a little while. I mean, you shouldn't do it at all, but if you're going to, you wouldn't keep doing it right after your sister confronted you. And given that, she knows things and she could tell Nathan in an instant, you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't do it. Because then if he confronted you, you could be like, well, I stopped that after I talked to Taylor. But the fact that she's continuing, it's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And also, what happened to her promising Nathan that she was done with Chris?
Right. Yeah.
Do you know what I also don't like? That like she's like, oh, well, this is about me. And she says it in later episodes too, of how it's about the music. I don't think it's about the music, honey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
I think that they had something in her
Mm-hmm.
head and in his head. And I mean, you would have stopped it. It just is driving me nuts because they kissed twice. That's what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is if it was about the music,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't have kissed him.
Yeah.
But it's just so great. She closes the laptop as soon as he walks in. It's like, really?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, she's just so easily to forgive him, right? And he's like, oh wow, did I come to the wrong house?
Right, yeah. Because apparently Taylor was lighting the incense a lot or something like that.
Yeah. But then he really said it though when Haley was like, basically like, I forgive you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she said that she overreacted about what happened with him and Taylor. That was a long time ago.
But not really. It was only
a few years ago.
A year and a half ago.
Or, yeah, 2 years ago. I forgot they're not seniors yet. And then, Haley says the things that they did in the past doesn't mean anything, right? And Nathan tells her she doesn't have to worry anymore. He went through her family album and he hasn't slept with any of her other sisters, which was funny. But I think she was saying about the past, like meaning Chris, even though that's not really the past, but I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
It's like just a minute ago before you walked in.
Yeah. And he holds her and tells her he doesn't want to hurt her, but he doesn't want to lie to her either. He knows how honest she is with him. So, yeah. Very honest. Mm-hmm. And then Jules and Keith get to dance. And before they go in, Jules tells Keith to promise her that they'll talk later. And Keith says they'll have dinner first, and then they'll see if she'll still want to talk to him.
Yeah, this is the scene where Dan is just too busy staring at Jules, not even caring that Keith's talking.
Mm-hmm. And then at the dinner table, Dan asks Jules, how does someone like her end up with someone like his brother? She answers, good luck. And Dan says it has to be more than that. He asks Jules what her story is, where she's from. And she answers Texas. And Keith says he thought she said she was from the Midwest. And Jules says that they're all from all over, really, because she's an army brat. So, yep.
So again, she didn't go through her spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it was kind of weird, the table, how they were sitting.
I didn't notice. What was it?
Because like Dan's at one end,
Mm-hmm.
Deb's at the other end, and then Keith and Jules are right next to each other, but they're, in the middle.
Oh yeah, that makes sense to me. Like the heads of the table, I guess, and like the guests in the middle. And plus, it just probably worked better for filming. So
yeah, I'm sure it was for filming purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But don't you want to be closer to your guests?
Yeah, I mean, was it a big table? I really wasn't paying attention.
It was like a table of 6.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess it would have been
Yeah,
weird
but
if
there's
they
no
were...
people. But there's no people across from Keith and Jules, which is weird. And it's like, oh, someone's on one side of you, and then someone's on the opposite side. Like it was weird. I'm like, so like they're not really in conversation, but they're talking to like the end people. It's just weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I see that a lot in films, so I didn't seem.
Yeah, but like on Gilmore Girls, when Richard and Emily would sit at the ends of the table,
mm-hmm.
Lorelai sat in the middle on one, and then Rory was across from her, and it made sense.
Yeah,
but it doesn't make sense that like you'd be sitting next to each other, not somebody's across from you.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think they maybe use different cameras, like maybe multiple cameras or one camera could be the difference. I don't know.
And also, like, if that was the case, then why wasn't Deb like across from Keith or Jules?
Mm-hmm.
And Dan's at the head, because he's always has to be the head of everything. So it's just like it was weird that Deb wasn't sitting across from one of them to make it seem like more intimate.
Yeah, I don't know. That would seem more weird to me, place-wise.
Not me.
But, mm-hmm.
Why would it to you?
Just because Dan wouldn't be next to Deb, he would be on that end there. So just she looked weird being by herself on that side of the table.
No, so. If she was across from Keith and Jules, she'd be closer. I mean, she'd be closer to Dan.
I know, but she wouldn't be
far away.
Yeah, she wouldn't be right next to him though. It'd still look weird. So then she'd be alone on that side of the table.
What are you talking about?
She'd be by herself on the long side of the table, the opposite end of Keith and Jules. So it just look weird.
She'd be closer to Dan.
I know, but and just like the filming, they would have to move the camera around the whole table.
It would look more natural.
Not to me. I think the camera wouldn't be able to go around that many times either to get on her. So
because I wouldn't be sitting so far away from my guests.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up in the rich life, so I'm just saying that at least they should. Okay, then why couldn't Dan and Deb sit next to each other across from them?
Yeah, that would make the most sense. But
like that's what I'm saying is in real life, isn't that what you would do?
Yeah, but I think
unless there's 5 or 6 of you, then somebody sits at the end. But you wouldn't both of you be sitting at the end. It didn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Jules tells Deb the chicken is great, and she's not just saying that because she's her boss. And Deb says that Dan actually made the dinner, and Jules starts coughing. So
yeah, like, oh, there's poison.
Yeah, I was wondering why she did that because it was kind of out of nowhere.
I thought it was because she thought there might be poison in there on her plate.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And then,
well, you really you trust Dan cooking your meal?
No, I'm just saying it was just kind of random how she just started coughing like that.
No, I thought it was funny. I was like, oh, she thinks there's poison.
Mm-hmm. And then, they talk about the club. It's doing well. And then Dan brings up how Keith is Dana, our bartender, and says it's like a dream come true for him, and then calls him boozy. Mm-hmm. And then tells Jules it must be fascinating work. She gets to hear everyone's dirty secrets. They all happen.
This isn't the first time that he's called him boozy, right? Or is it?
No, Just in this season, no. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say it's been a while.
Mm-hmm. And Jules says she guesses every bartender has to be part therapist. And Dan says it's got to be tough pretending to care about the poor bastards. And Jules says she doesn't have to pretend. And Keith tries changing the subject by saying that she did a beautiful job with the table, Deb. And then Dan tells Jules that Deb and Keith have always been very close. They have a special relationship, not just in-laws, more loving. And then says hopefully him and Jules can have the same tradition. And Deb says, geez, Dan, put it away and help me with the dessert. Because he's kind of like Taylor, like trying to, coax it out of them, like she was with Nathan.
Well, he's definitely
Billy.
making all of them like uncomfortable, and he's loving it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then, Dan wants to make a toast first to Jules and Keith and to honesty, the foundation of every good relationship. And then the next scene is with Anna and Lucas. They're out in town walking around when Anna says towards the couples they walk by that they all know what they want and they manage to find it, and it makes her jealous. And then a second later says maybe not them. And Anna says, or she assumes that Lucas thinks she's weird. And Lucas says, yeah, but he thought that since they first met as a joke. And she says that you either like girls or you like guys. She wishes it could be like that for her. It would be a lot easier if you could just pick a team. And Lucas says not necessarily. Lucas tells her that maybe she wouldn't feel so much pressure on herself, shouldn't feel so much pressure on herself to define herself. And then Anna asks Lucas if he's going to take the test or what, the heart test, because apparently Karen had told her too. So we didn't see Karen meet Anna, but apparently she told her about the test as well.
Yeah, I think Karen just went to every single person in town.
Yeah.
Like if he comes into the record store, don't let him do anything crazy.
Mm-hmm. And then Lucas says he hasn't done it for selfish reasons, and she thinks that he should do it because as far as friends go, he's all that she has, and she can't risk losing him. And then says, what if his mom, what if that was his mom that was supposed to take the test? She's the only mom he's got, and would he let her take that for granted? And then Brooke is on her laptop in her room when Felix gets behind her on her bed and starts being all touchy with her, but she tells him not now because just because they're dating doesn't mean that he gets to have a sexual season pass. So I did like she, put boundaries with him there. And then Felix asks what she's doing, and she says she's promised the other cops that she'd figure out a way to make things better at work for them. So she's digging up dirt on Carl. And Felix says she could do, this legally by looking at the state employment website. A guy like that is bound to be breaking some small business rules. And he says he'll get them some coffee to work all night. And Brooke is surprised that he's going to help her. He says, of course, she's his girlfriend. Besides, he has to if they're ever going to have sex again. And she punches him in the shoulder. He says he's kidding. And then Jules is off alone in Dan's office looking at his trophies when he walks in. And he says that they're all for first place except for one. It's for second place, his junior year against Mount Pilot. They would have won that game except the team tried to change the offense in mid-play. And Jules asks if that's what this dinner is about. And Dan says the dinner was to remind her who she's working for. He pays her, gives her a place to live. In exchange, she does exactly what he says. And Jules says she doesn't want to do this anymore. She loves Keith. And Dan says he's as romantic as the next guy. Don't believe that. But usually he let them ride off into the sunset together. But she told his son, meaning Lucas. And Jules says Lucas found out on his own. And Dan tells Jules to leave Lucas to him from now on. Her only job is to finish what they started. It would be different if she was going to spend the rest of her life with him. But does she think Keith would forgive her if he knew the truth? So I wonder if she probably had said to, has to use the bathroom, and that's when she ended up there. But I'm surprised Keith didn't wonder why she didn't return, soon after.
Right.
Yeah. And then Dan, taking off too. I would be suspicious of that, at least from Deb's end. She would think that he's up to something.
Well, yes. Well, especially because he always is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then back at the apartment, Taylor joins Haley out on the balcony. Haley tells Taylor that she's sorry about her hair. So it was her hair. I think that's what happened. Yeah. Taylor says she's sorry for sleeping with her husband, and then adds, if it's any consolation, she's not that memorable. And then says, no, that's actually a lie. And then Haley asks what she's going to do. Taylor says just to hang in there. Eventually Nathan will forget about her. And Haley says she's serious. She loves Nathan, and it's really confusing. Taylor asks if it's because she kissed Chris, and Haley says no, because she's jealous of what Chris has with his music, the freedom to pursue his dream, and the kiss just made it messier. Taylor says to Haley that she's the wrong girl to ask advice for. So I do think it's both because of the music, the freedom to pursue the music, and because of her feelings for Chris. You know, maybe she, at the back of her mind, does think that maybe Chris would be a better fit for her, maybe romantically, than Nathan, if she, didn't get married so quickly.
Right.
Because before she married Nathan, she was still, had a stage fright, so she never imagined really even pursuing this at all. So maybe that's why she could see herself with Nathan and being, in Tree Hill and all that, because she couldn't imagine going further with her dreams because she was too scared to. So she just didn't really think that far ahead, So then Taylor tells Haley that, why she really got the tattoo. When a scorpion's caught in a fire, it scenes itself to death. Haley says it's a myth. And Taylor says not in her life. When things get bad, she always finds a way to make them worse. And then they both sit on the railing with their tattoos facing the camera. And Taylor tells Haley she's always been miles ahead of her. And most times she feels like the little sister. And she knows she'll do the right thing and calls her Haley Bob. So Joy said that before it was Haley Bop, B-O-P. But then they had changed it to Bob as Haley's middle name. I forgot where that started, but you can always look at the Drama Queen episode to hear about that. But so now Taylor and her mom has called her Haley Bob. And I think later on too, maybe somebody else calls her that too. I forgot who. I think it was Quinn maybe, but yeah. So it's like a family nickname. It seems like, how I have my nicknames for my family, Brittany.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Taylor wipes some tears from Haley's face and then just holds her. So that was a nice, sweet moment because that was the first time we've seen them have a nice moment since Taylor arrived,
Yeah, because she's been lately.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, and it seems like she does care about Haley.
Yeah. After messing with her, making things worse. But yeah. So Lucas goes to see Keith. He says he wanted to see how he's doing. Keith says that he's glad he dropped by because something happened tonight with Jules. And, she walks in the room.
She's
and then,
always there. Every time
Yeah.
Lucas tries to talk to Keith, she's always
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, note to Lucas. Go to the dealership.
Right, yeah. And then before she walked into, they told him about, about the engagement. They were like all serious and all of a sudden they're all smiles. So I thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, but then Lucas and Jules make eye contact and, Jules looks scared because, Lucas looks just stunned by the whole ordeal. Because she said yes, and she knows she's just getting herself deeper into the lie of it all. But she's trying to prove to Dan that she's serious about Keith. So she's like trying to find a way to get the hook off with Dan while, finding a good place to settle with Keith, even though, the lie is just getting bigger. So it's like she thinks if she gets rid of Dan, then it won't be like necessarily a lie anymore, that at least that's still going on. So maybe that's what she's thinking in her head about saying yes.
Jules is just driving me nuts.
Yeah. And then at the crab shack, the manager tells the employees to get back to work because they're all huddled in a circle. Brooke tells them that they will as soon as he agrees to their list of demands. She's done some research and she found out uniform maintenance cannot be deducted from their hourly wages, and the crab suits are not flame retardant, so that's a violation of OSHA. And then there's more. She tells them they're not singing their little crabby songs until he complies. And then he tells them they win. They can turn in their crabby suits because they're fired. He can snap his fingers and get more crabs whenever he wants. The writers had a field day with using this reference about crabs and everything. But Brooke then hands the other girls signs to pick it, and the signs mention the so-called fresh crabs aren't fresh at all. They're frozen. They're supposed to be from Alaska, but they're from Jersey. And she's saying it's all, in front of the customers there in the place at the tables and everything. And the manager says that she can't prove any of it. And Brooke says in the case of Carl's famous crab, she can, they use imitation crabs, so not even real crab. And then that's when he says they can negotiate. And then Brooke says one $1 more per hour per crab. He agrees to that. And then Brooke adds, more breaks and all that. And he says, to get rid of the signs because they got a deal. And then he shakes hands with Brooke and then says, damn crabs, and the girls cheer. And then Brooke goes to Felix to tell them that they won at his house, and she jumps into his arms. He asks what she's going to be first, as an organized crab, her first act. And then she tells him she actually quit because she put her 2 weeks notice after, because she'll have enough money by then to pay for her car insurance, and she's not so big on the work thing.
This is what I mean. So
yeah,
she wasn't really there for the other people.
Nope. She just wanted to get the money she needed and then just head out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so about the crab shack.
Yeah.
It was at the Real Cafe in Wilmington.
Oh, okay.
And apparently it is right across the street from Joey's Wall.
Oh, okay.
Where'd
you get that from?
The internet.
Oh.
Well, I knew it looked familiar.
Mm.
And it does say it can be seen in multiple episodes of Dawson's Creek. And when you think about it, the outside does.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she was standing there, I'm like, I feel like it's been, because at first I didn't know if it was one of the restaurants, but it's definitely the outside of something on the shows. But I figured since we were talking about the crab shack, might as well bring up a filming location.
Right. But the thing about Brooke too and her car insurance, doesn't she know that she doesn't just pay it once, she's gonna have to pay it again eventually?
Next month.
Yeah, so what is she gonna do for, the next one? So I'm just wondering what she's gonna do.
Maybe she's just hoping her parents become rich in the next month.
Yeah, I guess so.
Or she'll have to find another job. Maybe Felix will pay for it.
Mm-hmm. And then, but she said it felt really good to do something for the little guy.
She kind of is the little guy. She's not rich.
Right. And then she wants to get some rest with Felix. And then Lucas and Keith are walking around town. Keith asks Lucas how he feels about his uncle being engaged. Lucas says, honestly, it's a little fast. And Keith brings up the test. It reminds him of every day might be the last. So he wants to live them all with Jules.
Ew. How old is she compared to Keith?
I don't know. I think they mentioned on the podcast maybe like 26-ish or around there. So probably like around the same age as Andy, maybe. I'm guessing.
I don't know. He's just too much. He's just more mature. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why I can stand him. Plus, he's not lying.
Right.
Well, because I honestly don't mind Andy. Like, I think he brings something different to the show. But Jules, I just try to avoid anytime she's on camera because I just don't like her. Well, I think because, she's lying.
Right. Yeah, and then Lucas asks Keith, like, what does he really know about her? And Keith says he knows Lucas wanted him to marry his mother, but life doesn't always work according to plan, and he had to move on.
I didn't like that. Here's the thing, is if somebody came back at me with that, I'd have told the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I just want you to be happy.
Yeah.
And here's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because what can Lucas lose besides Keith? But Keith really isn't in his life like he used to be.
Right.
So it's not like you'd be missing too much.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, you got Andy now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you need a male figure.
Right. And then Keith says he doesn't want to miss a second chance, and he tells Lucas once he gets to know Jules, he's going to love her as much as he does.
Sure, Lucas will.
Yeah, but Keith doesn't know that Lucas already has known Jules a bit and doesn't like her at all.
And knows too much.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's the thing is Keith thinks he knows everything about her, but he only knows the lies she's telling.
Right. And then he tells Lucas he's glad he's taking the heart test. Lucas says, like he said, it's for his mom. And then Keith tells Lucas the whole thing is sinking in, but it would mean a lot to him to be his best man. Lucas smiles but says, sure. They go into the clinic. And then Anna, she's setting up an online dating profile. I didn't know they had those way back then. But then not
Well, it was
choosing.
2005. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Because like I know, just like a lot of stuff on the internet was still brand new at the day back then with IM, and people were starting to just use email like a regular thing and stuff like that. But yeah, so when choosing who she's seeking, she actually chooses either gender, which definitely wasn't expecting either, because personally for me, I hadn't seen that until recent years myself. So I don't know about that, website or that time. But Haley and Nathan are walking home together after Nathan's shift at the dealership. They have a sweet moment. And then at the apartment, Taylor sees Chris left another IM message to Haley that says, "Hey, gorgeous."
I love this because
Mm-hmm.
she responds like she's like, I ain't having this.
Yeah.
So she responds back and was like, I'm in love with Nathan. Stop contacting me.
Mm-hmm.
Leave me alone. Like, I loved it.
Right.
Because out of all the crap Taylor was doing in this episode, it's like
Mm-hmm.
the two moments that I think she had redemption was this scene
Right.
and the one with Haley.
Yeah. But the only thing I didn't like about this is that she signed it as Haley, even though she was already using Haley's username. So if I were Chris, I would suspect that wasn't Haley telling him that, if anything.
Yeah, because none of the other messages when she said it was dash Haley.
Right. Yeah. So, or maybe he would think Nathan, if anybody was saying that to him. So, and then Lucas gets home to see Karen, who says that she doesn't agree with his decision. She doesn't understand, and she's not going to. And that's when Lucas admits that he did take the test. They'll get the results in a couple of days. She hugs him and thanks him. And then we see
Oh my God,
Jules.
that was funny because Karen was just going off, like, oh, I don't agree with your decision. And then Lucas is just like, taking it all in. Like, this is going to be funny. And then I took the test.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was so good.
Yeah. And then we see Jules and Keith making outside of his car, and then at school.
I don't like them together.
Right. Yeah. Well, we know that's not going to last for much longer.
Thank God, because I can't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
How many more episodes is she in? Because I can't.
I don't know.
I have a question. When the whole explosion happens, and you know what I mean,
mm-hmm.
is she ever seen again after that?
No.
That you know of? Okay.
Yeah. She just disappears, and yeah.
Good.
And then at school, we see Brooke sign up to be the class president. So now she's just going completely down that road.
So next to their names, was that like what homeroom they're in? Or was that like or I wondered if that was, because they had like the teachers' names, and I wondered if that was who recommended them.
I don't know. I didn't even look at this sheet, so I don't know what it was.
Because it said their name, and then it had like the teachers' names next to it, Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. whoever. And I was like, I didn't read if it was their homeroom or if it was a recommendation. Like they had to have a recommendation from a teacher.
Yeah, it could be either one. Yeah, I don't know.
And so I didn't know if that's what it was, but Brooke just puts her name and doesn't put a teacher. And I was like, so I didn't know if that's because she didn't have a recommendation.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It. Yeah, that's probably it.
Well, because they probably just don't want anybody to sign up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Lucas and Dan are at the river court. He tells Lucas they're the only ones to know the truth about Jules, and he's willing to keep it a secret. Keith never has to know, and Lucas asks Dan what does he want from him. And Dan takes a basketball from him and then says he's sure they can work something out. And then he makes a basket.
Oh, Dan.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that was the episode. So highs and lows?
So my high was I mean, I did like when Brooke was going back at the manager guy.
Mm-hmm.
Is he the owner or the manager?
She kept calling him Carl from the name. So
Carl is the owner.
Yeah.
I did like when she went back at him.
Mm-hmm.
But of course she was doing it for her own good.
Yeah, I think everybody else too, yeah.
But I did like Taylor at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So because she's hoping Chris stops it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's hoping, but that's the thing is Chris may stop reaching out to her, but Haley still could go on and message him.
Right, especially if she doesn't know the messages. So
it's like So it's like you're hoping that it's over with.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my high. My low, Jules not confessing and Haley still going on about this.
Right. Yeah.
But I do think, as much as I don't want to like side with Jules at all, she's in a tough position because she has Dan Scott she's going up against.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like he can ruin your life.
Yeah.
So that's a little tough there. You put yourself in danger when you went up against him.
Right.
And I mean, for her, there's no way of coming clean and it all working out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just didn't like her, again, and I didn't like Haley again. Like, why are we continuing this Chris crap?
Mm-hmm.
So, what about you?
I did like the sweet moments we finally saw between Haley and Taylor, and then Taylor kind of redeeming herself, at least with the Chris situation, by messaging him to leave her alone. And then the low was just Dan trying to make Jules and everybody uncomfortable at the dinner, and just trying to like see if he can, like, how far he can push everything. And then they're talking in the office about saying to prove to him about her feelings for Keith, because we know how badly that's going to go and how far it's going to go with the engagement and the wedding and all that. But yeah, I don't know, yeah, just like a lot of secrets and scheming in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then rating,
I'd rate this an 8.5. I think I have good drama.
yeah, I'd say just an 8.
I didn't like it that much.
Yeah, it was too messy with both, because like both of
Yeah, but sometimes messy's good. Like,
yeah,
for
I know.
TV wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just didn't like these two together side by side. And then best and worst.
Yeah, who's yours?
The best was Keith, because he, talked to Lucas about taking the test together. So, and doing it for Karen and Jules. And the worst is Dan, because like I said about the dinner and everything. So, and then Lucas at the end. And you?
Let's see here. I thought the best was actually Brooke.
Okay, yeah.
As much as she was doing it for herself,
Mm-hmm.
it was still somewhat working out for the other girls.
Right, yeah.
And she stood up to the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So and it was also running his business.
Yeah, she was probably she's like the newbie and probably the youngest one there too. So that took a lot of guts.
Yeah, and what 16-year-old is doing that?
Right.
So I did like that, even though it was obviously for her own purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like that she realized she can have a voice and it matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that she was signing up for student council. Because it's just showing another version of her, another side that we all love.
Yeah.
I think we all can agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like that she's starting to stand up for people.
Yeah.
Because she was never like that. It was always about her. And of course it still is, but it's just in a different way.
Yeah.
And I'm actually surprised she actually went through with dressing up as a crab.
Yeah, me too.
Because the Brooke we know would not be caught in a crab suit.
Right. She didn't even want to buy, cheaper clothes at the mall. So.
Right. So that's my thing. And then the worst was Haley.
Yep,
I just can't with her. Like, I know what Jules is doing is bad, but it's like Haley's in a marriage.
Yeah.
Like, Jules and Keith are not married yet. If she married him and then continued this, yes, she'd be the worst. But Haley's married. Nathan at least came clean. And you would think at that point you'd come clean too. But no, she's still, and my other problem with her is it's not eating her alive, because she sat there and walked down the road or whatever or the pier or whatever with Nathan, and they had that cute scene. And it's like, as much as we love that scene, Nathan is the only one that's being real.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's annoying is she's just okay with it all.
Right.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
So, it's like she's sitting there going at other people when she hasn't looked in the mirror, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like this whole her being secretive. It's not
Right.
going to end well.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, she's definitely the worst for me.
Yeah.
And then what's the next episode?
Episode 13, the hero dies in this one.
Who's the hero?
Yeah, which sounds dramatic because nobody dies, but a relationship does, I believe.
And I can't wait to find out who the hero is.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Yep, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Duo Chat. If you want to chime in with your opinion about the episode and the show we discussed, you can email us at duochatpodcast@gmail.com. And to keep up with updates about the podcast, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Duo Chat Podcast. And give us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We would appreciate it.